gateway, except without the gateway functionality.
We're a little late.
This
we're
comes in
watching Craig
handy
right
if you're
now, so
going
I'm
to be
going to
going
shrink
through
myself.
particularly larger migrations. It's not always easy to rip and replace everything, so maybe you want to start with access points and work your way up through access switching. And ultimately, once you get to that gateway and you want to use a cloud gateway, we have a super easy migration process to make that possible. Just to touch on network video recorders, these are dedicated physical security appliances. These are going to have a lot of drive bays here, so you have long-term RAID redundant storage for our cameras and our door access control. These things can be used together with each other, right? So if you want to use a cloud gateway to manage your networking and throw a network video recorder on it, you can do that. Now just to run briefly through some of our more flexible hosting options. Besides the hardware that we sell, we actually have an official UniFi hosting service. This is not to be confused with Site Manager. No matter where you run UniFi, how you run it, you get free access to Site Manager. The idea here is that you can simply take that control plane and run it in the UniFi cloud. Beyond that, though, we give full flexibility. We allow our customers to self-host the UniFi network application wherever they want, whether it's on site, on their own hardware, in their data center, or in their own cloud environments. Totally up to you. Again, whichever one you choose, I can't emphasize enough that everything shows up in your Site Manager, and you can really mix and match all of your different hosts to make sure that you're matching your business needs. Okay, so this slide here, this is what we talked about last year at Mobility Field Day number 11. You know, we're very prominent in the SMB market, but we've been making a really conscious effort to move upstream and make people more confident to install us in larger and more enterprise environments. Just to quickly recap some of this stuff, you know, we talked about hardware last year. First thing that we talked about was our U7 Pro. This was one of the first Wi-Fi 7 products to the market. We also announced 2 new products, one Wi-Fi 7 access point, and then the Enterprise Fortress Gateway. This Enterprise Fortress Gateway is a key product here because in addition to being the first in our targeted enterprise lineup of products, it's also a cloud gateway, and it's going to be made with higher capacity, more features, and a lot more redundancy in mind. That's the whole theme of this enterprise lineup of products. Tom's going to talk more about the portfolio. I just want to flash a couple here. We've really filled out our entire Wi-Fi 7 portfolio, a lot of different models depending on what your use case is. As it relates to enterprise products, we've rolled out a lot more of those and still more to come. Again, I'll leave that part to Tom here later.
Craig, quick question. I see SD-WAN and pushing further into the enterprise. Is SASE part of the Ubiquiti roadmap at this juncture? Yeah,
it is. So we don't typically like to think in terms of the buzzword necessarily like that. I know SD-WAN, but our whole idea is we want to make this simpler. You know, this year, Andrew will talk about, we had a site meshing feature, which would allow you to initially have 10 sites together. We've expanded that to now have 1,000. We allow you to do hub and spoke, failovers. You can have all sorts of redundant connections there. And this is actually a big part of our strategy coming up. I can't give away too much because we actually have our own UniFi World Conference coming up next week. So there will be more announcements to come.
All right, good to know.
So yeah, software last year, we largely talked about some cool new troubleshooting features that we had from Wi-Fi, some new innovations there. But since then, we've come out with a ton of different things. Everything that you see on the screen has been released since last year. So if you go back to my point about why UniFi, and we talked about the software innovation, you can really think of it as an investment, right? This is stuff that you get no matter when you purchased Ubiquiti. So instead of, you know, having those recurring licenses going out, it's almost like an investment. We are a vendor that really gives you a return on your investment. Andrew's going to jump more into these, but a couple things that I do want to highlight. API,
he was asking about
zero-touch provisioning, and IDP integration. These were brought up last year by the delegates. They've been brought up by our community. So all of this to say we are listening. It's one of the reasons we were excited to come back, talk to everybody here, and continue to make improvements. The last point that we talked about on our strategy was our premium support. This is the one thing where I would say we slightly evolved, right? We framed this last year in terms of support. But we actually think it's about going a step further. We want to be there every step along the way, from pre-sales to post-sales, install, and everything more. So we want to define it as UniFi being your partner, right? No matter if you're a channel partner, no matter if you're the end user, we want to ultimately be there and make sure you have the resources that you need to be successful. First thing I want to talk about is our enterprise partner program. This is designed for value add channel partners who are installing our dedicated enterprise lineup of products. We've hand selected a global chain of distributors. We call them our enterprise distributors, and made these available. And if you're one of those value add partners, you can go ahead and register deals for added security and increased profitability. All of those distributors are trained by our pre-sales engineers to make sure that they can answer not just questions about the enterprise, but all of the products in our portfolio. And we also directly support them. We have a robust process in play to make sure that we get involved directly for larger projects as needed to make sure they're successful. And we've gone on site and we'll definitely help out to make sure everything goes well.
Is this available worldwide or?
Yep.
Okay.
Worldwide. If you check this link below, you can go there and we're going to help you locate some of those local distributors there. No matter where you are, though, we're making sure that you're taken care of.
How long does the certification program take to complete?
So that's a good question, and I'll get into it later. Partial answer now is this is designed for partners as a very streamlined way to be able to register their deal. It's not a cumbersome process. It's pretty basic details, making sure they're legitimate, preventing, online resellers from cutting into the margins of that. We want to ultimately make sure if you are investing your time to win a project, that it's a real project and you're secured in for that.
All right.
Next up is phone support. We actually talked last year about our phone support offering. It's since been released globally. We have a follow the sun model, so we have 24/7 coverage. There's a number of different plans that we offer depending if you want, standard Monday through Friday business hours, or if you really do need that full support offering. It's been super well received. I won't go into all of the details here, but this is some of the feedback. The customers who have purchased it really love it. However, there's been one point brought up about it. This phone support was a per site basis. So each time you needed it for a site, you needed to add on another package, right? So for our value add partners, people who use this and have their business on it, they said, hey, we know what we're doing. We don't want to pay per site. And when something's going wrong for us, something's really going wrong, get us to an engineer now. So for that reason, we've recently come out with our professional integrators program for just under $1,000 a year. This applies for an entire company. So any of your team that needs to call us, you got it. You get the premium escalation to tier 2 phone support. We also have webinar-based trainings. Anybody who partakes in the program gives us feedback on what sort of trainings they want to see. And ultimately, we have our team creating that and delivering it. As a matter of fact, Tom from our team actually just gave one of these a couple days ago to a large group. And again, very well received. These trainings and webinars complement our official certification courses that you can find on our website if you want to go in person and get, more hands-on learning with this as well.
Just out of curiosity, I trust the phone support also includes social media channels as an option.
Social media in what sense?
Like they prefer to use Slack to troubleshoot this with the person versus over the phone.
We have chat and email based, and then phone. So yeah, if the phone, if you don't want it, we still have a process to make sure you're going to get to the right person, and we're going to be able to help you on your timeline.
Well, the phone's certainly welcome.
Yeah, yes, it is. Again, it's been super well received. And again, I know we've talked about pre-sales, we've talked about post-sales, but sometimes it's not about troubleshooting, as you all know. Stuff goes wrong with the hardware. So that's why I want to mention UI Care here. It's our 5-year extended coverage plan. Applies to just about all of our hardware, whether you purchase through us directly or through one of our authorized distributors. 5-year coverage, something goes wrong, all you have to do is type in that MAC address. We're going to advance ship you a new unit before you send yours back, free of charge. It often gets there next day. We include a return label in that package so you can send it back. And no questions asked. We make it really simple and easy. And in general, I said this is more about being a partner. So with that, we're actually just generally putting ourselves out there. A lot of you have probably seen us. We've been going to a lot more trade shows, industry events, not just in the US, but globally. Again, we have a global team of support engineers, so we're going, making sure that there's a presence, giving you a spot to come find us if you want to give us feedback or just generally share how things are going with you. Next week actually starts our UniFi World Conference Tour for this year. A couple years ago, we started this event where we're traveling around. It's dedicated to UniFi. We have all of our products on display, a lot of new and upcoming products. And we go into a lot more depth during this one-day event. Our CEO talks more elaborate on our roadmap, why we're making certain design choices, and ultimately how it's going to benefit you. Gives you a chance, again, to come talk to us, give us feedback, and also, network with your peers, see what they're doing, what works, what doesn't work, and ultimately we can all grow together. Don't just take our word for it. We've been putting together a large repository of case studies. I know a lot of people new to UniFi, they always want to say, hey, give me an example of a deployment. So this has been a well-requested feature, so we heard it. We have been putting these out there. I think we've got about 20 to start now. We have a large backlog of other things that are coming. I wish that I can tell you more about that, but just know there's a lot of good upcoming deployments. We're going to be writing more extended white papers too, so you have more of the technical know-how to use it. And yeah, it's been a really awesome, well-received feature here. I'm going to pause if there's any questions here, but I wanted to leave up some of the resources that I talked about if you want to check those out.
Yes,
Come
when
here.
do we get the new doorbell, please?
And yeah, thank you very much.
Do you have a question on the UniFi GPT there at the end? Is that trained only on your own internal docs?
Yes. So it's a combination of our Help Center articles, our
That guy's
tech
name's
specs, and we do some custom training behind the scenes to point it in the right directions. It's an awesome tool for general questions. Admittedly, like any AI, there's the opportunity for hallucinations. But what I found is it's a great resource if you're wondering for general questions about Ubiquiti. How does the platform work? General product recommendations, if you do comparisons, it makes that all super, super easy. Awesome. With that, would like to pass this off here to Tom.
Woo,
All right,
UI
passing the
Tom,
torch.
let's go.
All right, well, thanks, Craig, and thanks to all of you for hosting us again. So I just want to start with some of the Wi-Fi 7 developments that we've done, some of the hardware stuff that we've been doing over the past year. So as Craig said, we've been busy. Our big announcement last year was the introduction of the enterprise Wi-Fi 7 APs. These things are absolute monsters. High-end radios, 10 gig uplinks, a whole new industrial design for us, redundant links. These things are great, including E7 regular down there, your ceiling mount, indoor AP, all with AFC. Your campus, outdoor, AFC, directional, tri-band AP, and then audience coming soon. 5 gigahertz dual 6. That's going to be a monster, replacing for our old UWB XG, including software selectable beam width for the antennas. But we learned a lot through developing these. Like I said, it was a whole new architecture for us, whole new ideas. Things like providing high availability and keeping that high availability story of our enterprise lineup going all the way out to the access points. But there's another thing to learn about developing APs, about making hardware ourselves. And that is that Wi-Fi has become rather complicated over time. And we start with our original UFO design here, the ones we all know and love. We started in about 2010 with the first ones, but over the successive generations, those APs got physically larger and larger. Some of that was antenna optimization, of course, but a lot of it was thermal management, managing the increased power draw of more and more powerful SoCs, until finally the Wi-Fi 7 APs, if you compare a U7 Pro to some of the original UAPs like an AC Pro, it's a much bigger physically AP. So when we came to do our next gen of APs, came to expand our Wi-Fi 7 portfolio, we went back to the drawing board with the lessons that we learned from E7. And that's when we introduced U7 Pro XG. A whole new shape,
Graphic
a whole
looks a
new
little weird.
design for us. We optimized every part of it. We optimized the backplate to have that sort of stepped pattern for heat dissipation. We were able to upgrade the NIC to 10G because we suddenly had that much more room to play with in terms of thermal envelope. And we kept the same great performance, the same great chipsets we were using with U7 Pro and Pro Max. And so that really completed our Wi-Fi 7 ceiling mount roadmap here. We have U7 Lite starting at $99 and then going up to the Pro XG and XGS at $299. These APs, they are all Omni, all ceiling mount. In fact, the Pro Max still uses the same mount or is still compatible with some of the older mounting for something like U6 Pro or even some of the mounts that we used for AC Pro, AC HD. So super quick to swap those out. But of course, we needed to fill out more. So that's when we started getting into some of the specialty lineups. We have U7 In-Wall and Pro Wall, our two wall-mounted APs for hospitality applications or specialty applications. So U7 In-Wall is a dual-band AP, 2 ports of 2.5 gig on the bottom, including one with PoE pass-throughs to power a desk phone, power something in room, super useful. And then U7 Pro Wall adds a 6 gigahertz radio, drops a switch. But U7 Pro Wall I also really like for sensitive applications. If you want to make your room look really nice, you want to hide away the AP, you can get a paintable cover, you can get a paintable recess mount for it, tuck it away in the wall, looks super nice. And then finally, based on feedback from our customers, including people in this room, we expanded into outdoor APs and connectorized APs. So U7 Outdoor was our first really big foray going back into an AP with an integrated directional antenna, but also external antenna connections, whether you want to use the Omnis that are included in the box or any dual band tighter sector antenna that you might want to deploy. And then U7 Pro Outdoor, I know our community has been really excited about this. We've been promising this one for months, but we're finally ready to put that on sale in the coming weeks. This adds a built-in directional 6 gigahertz antenna to the mix, AFC certified, a nice little adjustable mount. It's a really great AP for deploying outdoors or getting your feet wet with going Wi-Fi 7 and 6 gigahertz outside. And then finally capping it off is the enterprise lineup. So all of these APs, they're 4x4 and 6 gigahertz. They're 10 gig, redundant links. What makes them all different is their antenna pattern and where they're intended to be deployed. So E7, that's our indoor powerhouse. That is our big indoor AP with AFC capability. So that, of course, means if you're in an area, it's supported, you can get that extra 6 dB that we all want for standard power. E7 Campus and Audience are outdoor APs. So those have integrated directional antennas, different radios, of course. Your Campus is meant for more general deployments where you might want to actually have 2.4 gigahertz still deployed. But E7 Audience is meant for those high-density 5 gigahertz, 6 gigahertz clients. But E7 Campus and Audience have another trick up their sleeve, which is prism filtering. And I talked about this at WLPC. Prism filtering is a patented technology that we brought over from our AirMax lineup. We use this for our point-to-point links to try and cut out neighboring interference from adjacent channel interference. When you're building a tower with a bunch of point-to-point links, ACI is going to be unavoidable, right? Same deal with putting a bunch of outdoor APs, maybe on the corner of a building. You might be at risk for some ACI. So we added in hardware filtering that intercepts the incoming signal, brick walls it, and then amplifies it back up to the incoming radio. So above and beyond whatever mitigations are in place on the radio itself. And in practical terms, what does this mean? So we put this in our lab. We wanted to simulate what it could do if we had a 40 megahertz channel, so a reasonable deployment for outdoor maybe, if you're not in an urban setting, maybe you're more suburban. You add in an adjacent channel interferer. I believe this was below 149. I don't think this was 165. And it just kills the throughput, as you would expect. That's what ACI does. But when you turn on the prism filtering, we're talking a 60%, 100% plus improvement in throughput with a real client just from our hardware filtering. This is on all the time. There's no configuration needed. But Campus and Audience, when you get ready to deploy them outdoors, they have this filtering ready to go. And that's just part of the story that we have with our Wi-Fi 7 features. So MLO, I talked about MLO last year, sort of how the R&D was going. Now I can say it's finally generally available for all of our APs, all of our Wi-Fi 7 stuff. We have our MU-OFDMA, that's all fully working. 6 gigahertz, including AFC support on the relevant APs, including the indoor one. E7 is fantastic. The way AFC works with that AP is if you're in an area and you can do 36 dB EIRP on a channel, it'll let you. But if you're in an area where you can't, it's still recognized as an indoor AP, so it'll drop to 30. No problem. You're not going to have that risk of running a really low TX power just because you turned on AFC. And of course, we also have 4096 QAM. We all in the room know that 4096 QAM is lovely in a lab setting, but in the real world, good luck, especially as 6 gigahertz gets more and more congested. I actually walked around San Francisco last week, and I saw plenty of 6 gigahertz SSIDs popping up. So we had a nice green field for a while, but it's going to get congested probably the next 2-3 years. And finally, static preamble puncturing is also working. So that's also live on our APs. When they first boot, when you set a new channel, they're going to do a quick background scan. They're going to find if there are any strong interferers way above the noise floor, and then puncture them out. That's 5 and 6 gigahertz live today. Notice I said static puncturing. Nobody has dynamic puncturing working yet. That's something that we're working on. But again, that's also client support dependent. So TBD on how useful that's going to be. Now, good APs are nothing without strong switching to back them up, and we've been very busy with switching lately, if you've kept pace with our product announcements. So just to walk through really quickly, the switches that we always recommend for doing a new deployment start with Pro Max. That's a mixture of gig, 2.5 gig for doing like U7 Pro Max, those APs. You can step it up to Pro XG, get a ton of 10 gig copper, get up to 90 watt PoE delivery on the ports. And then finally, if you want that high availability story, you step up to our enterprise tier. That not only gives you that 2150 watts of PoE, you're running 240 volts, don't worry, we're not going to overload your circuits. But it also has hot swap fans and PSUs. And then that complements our rack mount gateways as well. All the way from our UDM Pro, which has been around for a number of years. I personally bought one before I ever worked for Ubiquiti, and it served me well all through this time. All the way up to our EFG, which Craig introduced last year, and with its hot swap PSUs, SSL inspection, it's truly a next-gen firewall. And then finally, we have our new compact models. These have been new in the past year. So we started out with Ultra, a little gigabit model, perfectly great little branch office gateway, all the way up to UCG Fiber, which is over 5 gig IPS throughput on a little $280 box. It's absolutely incredible for doing any sort of deployment where a rack's not possible or you just don't have the room for it. But a question that I always get when I have to jump into pre-sales or I have to jump into product education is, how do I deploy UniFi? How do I get started with this? So I always recommend a cloud gateway or something to host UniFi. You can, of course, set it up yourself, run it on your operating system of choice, but it's easier to get started with one of these because you can just set it up with Bluetooth on your phone. You usually add in some sort of switching. The Cloud Gateway Fiber that I added here has one PoE plus port on it. Just run one little AP for a bench setup or something. But if you're going to expand, you're going to need a switch. And then finally, our access points. So I'd like to walk through some sample deployments just to show what we'd recommend today. So if you're doing a small office, I'd start with our UCG Max, our Flex switch, and a Pro Max. This will give you that 2.5 gig backbone that we've really democratized over the past year. This will be an incredible performer for years to come, and you still get all of the great new features that we've done in our software and all of the great new Wi-Fi 7 innovations. But when you start expanding to a larger office, suddenly you have a 19-inch rack to play with. Step it up to a Pro Max 24, step it up to a UDM Pro Max. Now you've got some gateways that are capable of doing about 5 gig IPS throughput, maybe a little bit more. Now you're talking some serious throughput when you start dealing with a lot of people working at the same time. But when you deal with a warehouse, you say, I'm liking it in my office, but what can I do about directionality? This was an area, like I said, it came up a lot last year, both talking to customers, talking to you guys. was you guys don't have anything directional. Or the last thing you made directional was like AC mesh back a long, long time ago. And so this is where E7 Campus might work if you had sort of a more open space. Think like more of an airport terminal, big manufacturing center, big open space where the 90-degree beam width might help you. But if you need something more specialized, U7 Pro Outdoor with its connectorized antennas is good to go, especially if you're deploying them in temperature-sensitive environments. I know a lot of people like to put the APs outside of something like a freezer and then cable the antennas inside. Again, perfect use. Yeah.
Since you've got an AP with the connectors there, do you also make the antennas?
Yeah, we have an Omni antenna in the box, and we are actually exploring other antenna options that would be first party, but really any third party antenna will work just fine. You can set custom antenna gains in our software, so just match up the spec and you're good to go. And then of course, like I said, for hospitality, you can swap out those specialized APs for our in-wall series. But we have customers that want to go bigger, especially education. You know, education can be as small scale as, you know, one of these office setups, but it can go very large. This was an example deployment that we did recently for a big high school, I believe. They wanted to have redundant gateways. So we have our shadow mode functionality that's VRRP, stateful failover. Takes about 3 to 5 seconds to fail over between them, but definitely good enough to keep, you know, voice call going, Skype call, whatever. Works just fine. MC lag at the core level on our enterprise aggregation switches. This is super slick functionality, you know, whether you need to connect servers, NVRs, whatever. You know, one switch goes down, it keeps on rolling.
Is MC lag only available on the enterprise switches, or does it go into the lower end products as well?
It's only available on the enterprise switches for now. But later in this year, we're going to introduce switch stacking at the access layer. So we're going to have a new SKU coming out called ECS-S, S for stacking, that's going to allow you to connect multiple switches with 100 gig interlinks. So that way you can build in that fault tolerance at the edge as well. And of course today you can use link aggregation, or you can use STP blocking, or however else you want to architect your edge layer.
This is a virtual stack, not a physical stack cable?
So we will have physical stacking later in this year.
Okay.
Yep, and of course dual links to your enterprise APs. And then finally, it can keep expanding. The whole story of UniFi is scalability. You can start out small and continue growing as your needs go. So this is an enterprise campus network. So we have, you know, our 2 primary gateways, but we keep adding layers of aggregation switches as you add on another building, or as you expand your network, or as you suddenly just need more ports. And you can just keep building and building out, and UniFi really is unlimited scalability. But I've talked a lot about hardware, but Andrew is going to tell you a lot about the software that powers all of this. But before I let him take over, any questions from you all?
Yeah, this could be an opportunity, Tom, to take a snapshot of a SuperLink, and what you're hearing from customers out there, and supporting IoT capabilities, et cetera.
Yeah, no, that's super important for us. So the SuperLink portfolio is sort of on our Protect side. We unveiled this. It's a whole new wireless thing that we're developing. It's not Wi-Fi based. It's
wireless
LoRa
thing.
based.
All right.
And by doing LoRa, of course, you get the battery life advantages, you get the range advantages. And we're launching a whole family of sensors, relays. I think there's even a smoke alarm planned. So it allows us to bring in a bunch of IoT into the UniFi Protect family, into our physical security family, all tied in with just great battery life and a nice ecosystem that will be open via API. So you'll be able to, of course, query all of those, bring them into any application you want. But I don't really have much more to say about that other than our IoT roadmap, or we have plenty of cool stuff that's coming that I can't talk about yet. But
Fair enough.
yeah, I was checking Discord before
Damn
I
it.
got on. I saw people asking about SuperLink. I saw them.
I just want to know if it's externally monitored. That's it, really.
Andrew, you're up, man.
Okay. I forget what Andrew does. I saw him last
There you go.
year on
Thanks,
this. But I
Tom.
forget. I guess he'll tell
Again,
us right now.
we got plenty of time, so if you guys want to fire some questions our way, more than happy to hear those. But Pleasure to be with you today. My name's Andrew. Glad to be back here again. It's always a pleasure to meet with this crew. And we really enjoyed doing this event. It's fun for us to get to talk about what's going on and some of the exciting features we have in the
Tom,
pipeline.
thanks for
me,
being
I've
here.
been with the company for starting like
You'll have them
2015,
posted.
and so
Okay.
it's been a long time seeing where we've
Let me
come
put
from.
your
We didn't even
YouTube
have a
channel in
gateway
here.
back then. So it's been really cool to see the journey from us being starting in that small business space and really growing our capacity and our feature set to be able to do a lot more. So today I'm going to talk about software, and we're going to build up off of what we did already in the presentation. Thanks, Craig and Tom. Craig mentioned a little bit about how we approach our customer a little bit differently. Our focus, if anyone knows UniFi, we're a little bit weird. We do things differently than some of the other players in the space, and that's been sometimes a challenge for us, and sometimes it's been a huge asset to us. And I'd say at this point, we're really starting to see, a lot of growth coming from this very unique business model at a time where sometimes it's difficult for some vendors. We are still seeing that organic growth, and it's exciting to see. We're really knocking on the door and really getting in those enterprise deployments, and so this is an exciting time. So with our software, we approach it a little bit differently. Again, being a license-free model means we're not asking for money from our customers for the software we're releasing. So we're developing software, and our whole focus on this, like Craig mentioned, we try to focus on a partnership with our customers. What that means is that instead of them paying money for us to develop software features that they need, we're focused on investing our resources into them and developing software features that are going to help them be successful and help them grow and become, deploy more unified products in the future. And really, as these customers experience, the positive side of managing a unified deployment and especially that license-free model, that word of mouth, that positive experience has really been how we've grown a lot. So thanks to all those customers who've helped compensate for our lack of a sales team. They get us out there. They're the ones that are spreading the word about what we're doing. And so we're going to keep investing in that approach. So that's really what kind of sets us apart with our software approach. So, we have a large customer base. We cover everything from home users to the largest integrators and MSPs out there. And so a tool like the Design Center is a product that offers lots of benefits to our customer base. This software allows you to plan ahead your deployments, upload a floor plan of your deployment, place all of our different products, like Craig mentioned, the whole gamut of products we offer, everything from Pro AV to NAS devices to wireless, everything else. You can lay them on this floor plan, and you can even do things as much as like simulate coverage, of course, with the APs. We have our antenna radiation patterns into the software, where, of course, also you can find us in other planning and site survey software out there like Homino or Ekahau. And so we know there's still a very important place for doing a site survey. But really in this planning phase and really getting a sales proposal together, you can upload a floor plan, put together a deployment for a customer in like 15 minutes, and through this tool generate a sales proposal that lays out a bill of materials, even does things like estimate how much cabling they're going to need, things like that. It's a really nice tool that really helps our customers grow their businesses. And so that's a really important part of our offers. We try to develop tools like this that, again, don't cost anything, and we want to make free just as our way of investing in our customer so they're successful. So this is a nice platform. We're going to keep investing in this, but you'll find that it's really developed in the last year. We put a lot of resources into this. And another example of kind of the unique problems we have is Ubiquiti, right? We have such a large customer base, and that includes home users on the lowest scale. We might just install a couple APs or a router, and it has someone being deployed in stadiums. And sometimes we have to deal with issues like the default configuration for devices out of the box isn't always ideal for each one of those customers, right? So we have to consider what's the default channel width on our devices. Like, what do we want? Do we want 40 megahertz? Do we want 20 megahertz? That's probably not ideal for the home user. What we found was that home users sometimes would need to optimize for that, channel stability, and that we're trying to keep more narrow channels as to prevent too much interference in a large deployment. We found sometimes home users who are maybe using us to replace a meshing, a home router solution or a mesh solution would take us out of the box, do a speed test on us, and because we're using those 40 megahertz channels by default, they'd see a lower result and think, UniFi is not doing the job we expect from them. So that's kind of a unique challenge that we have, is we have to deal with this. That's not always the case for other products. I think licensing makes, for a lot of people, untenable to use a product at home. So for us, we have to develop features that allow us to help our customers get what they want out of the product, no matter which customer they represent in that whole spectrum. So we offer ability for them to preset and prioritize certain performance, like maximum speed in this case, which would increase the channel width. allow the use of DFS channels and things. And we also have the conservative setting that allows to keep that more narrow, limit the interference, limiting the noise on the network, and so on. But this is just one of those features we have to come out with because we have such a unique challenge as UniFi. So we're going to keep coming out with features like this that help, but this is just one way we're trying to help address those different customer needs. So another, we touched on this just a minute ago, but zero-touch provisioning. You know, we have in our site manager, it's this platform where you can manage all your deployments, scale, you know, to whatever scale you need. And if you're a home user with 2 deployments, if you're a MSP with that provides support for 150 deployments or 1,000 deployments, it can, you know, this can become a very large-scale solution. And for us, it means that we need to find solutions that make this easier. And we discussed this last year at Tech Field Day. But it's really important to note that we've actually, you know, are rolling this out. We've now got products that ship with a tab on them you can pull out, that you can peel off, and then there's a zero-touch provisioning code that you can enter into the software and or scan it and put into your software, and then add these so that when you're going to deploy to a new site, you can basically point all the devices to the right location, ship them on to that location, and then they'll, when they're booted up, they'll all pull down the right configuration, everything that you've already set up. Now we're building off of this to do more and more as time goes on. You know, now it's just so easy. You just, once you put that code in, you can assign it to that new site, and there you go. It's going to show up where it's supposed to be when it's powered up. Now we're also elaborating on this a little bit, in that for those customers that are coming at the point where they have reached like the limit of their previous hardware. So let's say they're ready for a hardware refresh. Instead of having to pull out a device and reconfigure the products, we're now adding device replacement. We've added this into the software to where they can now designate a device to take over for that previous device and then inherit all that configuration. So if you're going to unplug a switch, replace a switch to the same form factor, it can inherit the same configuration that the previous switch had, which if you're managing a lot of deployments, this saves you a lot of time. And so we have to consider how we can better serve our customers and make their jobs a little bit easier, especially when they're managing a lot of deployments.
What if somebody wants to, say, scale it up? So if you've got like a 24-port switch, and now I need to do a 48-port switch, can you still do the same replacement and it just migrates the first 24 ports over?
To be honest, I haven't tested that out yet. This is so new. I don't know if either of you guys know.
Not yet, but it's definitely, we're continuing to look at ways to make that a more seamless experience.
We've got a number of other features along that same vein, too, that where you can basically configure a whole site proactively. Like if you're going to do a lot, like say you're a large IT organization that has a number of remote small offices that you tend to have the same VLANs, the same SSID configuration, everything. You can actually, we're coming out with a feature that allows you to be able to proactively push that out to sites in advance. And so that combined with the zero-touch provisioning where you bring the devices online, they inherit the configuration you've already pushed out to the site before deployment, just means that you streamline this process a lot. So we'll be working on addressing that question. So we have some other things coming out, but we'll talk about it a little bit more. But this is a positive change, and I'm excited to see that we do this now.
Andrew, on device replacement, how much are you seeing considerations like power management, heat dissipation, driving? We want to replace the device, and we want to see, for example, improvement enhancements in those particular areas.
Well, it's definitely something we see a lot of. Like, I mean, the big thing driving a lot of the changes have been increasing standards. So Wi-Fi 7 has for us been also a ticket to multi-gig LAN infrastructure. So because we've priced our Wi-Fi 7 products to be very affordable, where they are marginally increase in price over our previous, Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 6E hardware. The Wi-Fi 7 hardware comes at a small markup. What that means is that you have money to also pay for the improvement of your switching infrastructure from gig to 2.5 or 10 gig if you need it. And so we're seeing that those are a lot of the things that drive this. We see PoE demand also being a part of that. But with our products at UniFi, we always are balancing cost with features. And we're trying to find the happy medium that reaches the most customers and what most of their demand is. And so, like I mentioned, our kind of approach to software design is all about investing in the customer. That means that we rely all the time on customer feedback about what they need. If we're designing a product that's going to help them be more successful, we have to know what you want to be more successful or what you need. And so this is where I say, I love going to events like this. I love hearing criticism. I'm not, thin-skinned. You can tell me anything you want about UniFi or what we need to do better. And I can tell you from top to bottom in our organization, we have this attitude that we want to hear those things and we want to identify the problems and fix them. And so I always try to say this, but thanks to everyone who's given us feedback or criticized us. Like we live off of that and we need that. So of course, if you guys have some pessimistic questions, like throw them my way too. That's all right.
YouTube
we don't
chat.
mind.
Well, the
Imagine you could ask
customers,
questions.
Can you characterize the top 2 or 3 things that they're asking you?
Well,
with the,
a lot of the things that they've been asking for years are things we're going to be covering today that we've addressed. Like I can tell you, for years it was support. They wanted 24-hour phone support. We've adopted that, extended warranties, redundancy. Those are some of the biggest feature requests I've heard since my time here. And a lot of times I come to a show and I'd say, yeah, we know we need that. We're working on it. Hopefully we'll have it next year, you know. And it's hard when you do that 2 or 3 years in a row.
Unfortunately,
happy to say
CyberDog, I don't
nowadays,
think they're
it makes
checking
a
their
lot easier to go
phone,
to
so I
events 'cause I can
can't
say,
do it real
"Oh, yeah, we
time
got
right
it
now.
So yeah, thanks for telling us that.
Unless there's
over and over
people
again.
in
But those
YouTube
are some of
chat
the most requested
that are at
features.
this conference right now, or
Let
in
me
this
see if I
talk.
think of some others, and I'll flag them for you.
One question I have is the UniFi seems to be moving kind of slowly more upmarket with the enterprise products. What features in UniFi OS have you been adding for things like configuration rollbacks? I've made this change. This device has lost connectivity to the controller. I need to roll that back, making sure that the devices stay online for enterprise customers that have higher uptime requirements than home users or prosumer users.
Yeah, well, so we've got some features coming in the near future that are really going to be aimed at identifying potential performance issues and things that maybe the most mission critical networks need to rely on these metrics to know what they need to do. We'll have some things coming out to help with that, but we have also a number of features right now that help address that question. I'll give you some examples of things that we do. Like, for instance, we've made it to where it's very easy for you to identify certain issues. Like I'll show you real quick. Let me show you this. We'll come back to, I'll come back to your question in just a moment. But there's a few things I'll show you that are right in that vein of what you're discussing. Any other questions too? Before I move on, I'll come back to your question.
Yeah, UniFi Protect and how to optimize implementing on the Wi-Fi products. Any amplification on that would be welcome.
So can you repeat the beginning?
Yeah, implementing Protect on the Ubiquiti Wi-Fi products.
Okay, so yeah, we actually have this whole new device category we released in the last year. I've been really excited to see it. We call it our Unified Device Bridge. So we're a unique company. We come from a different background than a lot of the vendors in the space, having started in outdoor wireless. So we did a lot of bridging, is where we kind of got our start. So we've recently came out with a whole platform of products that's all about creating wireless bridging for devices. And that's where this device bridge product comes in. So we have the UDB, which is an indoor device that basically the idea is it's a PoE injector. You plug it into your wall, and it's got an integrated Wi-Fi adapter on it that's actually got, a lot of times how it is with IoT or affordable devices. Sometimes they have the weakest little chipset you can imagine, and it creates all sorts of problems for you. The nice thing with this is you can take a wired device, plug it into this, and get the PoE from it, but it also is going to be that Wi-Fi that automatically connects to your UniFi network. So you can have it set to where as soon as you plug this in, let's say you take a camera, you don't have cables ran for that camera in your deployment. Let's say it's a cafe, or even like, universities deal with this stuff all the time with limiting of where they can drill cables and deal with, especially when dealing with concrete. But they can plug in these devices, plug in that camera, and then immediately that device comes online to protect and manage without any configuration required. So this is a really nice feature that we're trying to do both for indoor. We also have the UDB Pro, which is the Device Bridge Pro for outdoor. The idea there, in places like where you have outdoor protect camera deployments, where in places where you don't have cabling, like in a parking lot, you can have one of our outdoor APs or our UDB sector, which is a sector device that connects to all of these different UDB Pros, point back directionally, and then that bridges the PoE to that second device. So all you need is power at that pole, and you can have 20 of them all pointing back to that one device, and it's very cost effective, very affordable, and it just basically allows us to get past some of those deployment limitations, things that stop a deployment from happening sometimes because you don't have cabling yet. We now have ways around that with our Device Bridge Pro.
And one thing I want to add about those, they're actually designed with our AirMax protocol. So they're optimized for uplink, designed specifically for the cameras. So rather than a collision domain, we do a polling method there. So it's not going to be affected as much by Wi-Fi interference. It's specifically for those camera sorts of deployments. Plug it in and it just pops up.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's like, I love to talk about these products because they're really a lot of segments, especially the physical security integrators out there are used to dealing with these types of challenges. This is just so easy. And so what's nice is when you integrate UniFi products together, a lot of times we get a customer that starts with one product they experience it, they end up liking it, and they want to try something else. What's cool is that we get to add more value onto the customer with each additional product. So if you're doing physical security integration, you're also installing networks like Wi-Fi devices. Now it's become that much easier to get your cameras online, even if you don't have cabling.
My camera. I think
I'm
the
excited
cable's
about these
broke.
products because it really helps us bridge some of those problems that slow sales from happening.
You guys sell cameras without Wi-Fi?
Yep, we most of our cameras are not Wi-Fi. We only sell a small number of Wi-Fi cameras, but virtually all of them are only wired. So it works really well with our products because you plug them into one of these and then
You can
it automatically
power
connects to
them and
Wi-Fi.
then connect them back to Wi-Fi.
Yeah, all on the same device. So it's a very interesting use case, but really we're finding it to be very useful, and certain customers are doing really well with these products. But thanks for bringing that up. I'm glad we got to talk about that. I wasn't going to get to talk about that, so appreciate that. So let's talk about the scalable private pre-shared keys. So we released PPSKs before our last meeting. We talked about that briefly. People here know the benefits of PPSKs. For those watching, maybe that aren't familiar, the ability to have a single SSID with multiple passwords that each authenticate clients onto their own VLAN. This is a lot of use cases. It's nice for IoT devices. It's nice for MDUs, where you're going to have lots of different people living alongside each other that need their own little distinct network within the coverage of other access points that other people are connected to. So it allows you to basically keep everyone secure and have devices to share with, but scale it up and allow for roaming throughout the deployment. Well, we got concerns from customers that our PPSK functionality wasn't scalable enough. We didn't have enough features there to help generate PPSKs proactively to integrate with things like hospitality, management software, or maybe you have a different password every day for every different hotel room that shows up on a little tablet inside the room that the customer can see and see what their Wi-Fi password is. Well, we've now provided the feature, we've added to this the ability to be able to generate passwords, each with their own. You can specify how secure or which characters you want to use. And you can also assign which VLANs, like a range of VLANs that you want to use for this. You can generate 1,000 passwords that are going to use these VLANs. And then you can export that through a CSV file to import into whatever third-party tool that you're using with that.
I guess two questions. I guess they're going to ask the question.
Steal my question, aren't you?
Ask the question that I think you don't have, hopefully. Can you do this via API?
Yeah, it's not available just yet, I don't think, but it will be.
Soon, okay.
Well, I'm going to talk about the API in just a second, so we'll talk about this.
Yeah. Sam, do you want to say WPA3 on?
I would love to, yeah, could I? Or Wi-Fi 7 more in particular, right? What we're seeing out of other vendors' multi-PSK solutions, they break MLO and Wi-Fi 7 features. Is this compatible with all Wi-Fi 7 features in your hardware portfolio?
So this is not at this time. We're discussing mitigations about ways to go around it. In general,
Sorry, turn your mic back on, Tom. Sorry about that.
so no, it's not at this time. We're still discussing sort of ways that we can work around this. Really,
Thank you for being direct.
yeah, so that's the problem with SAE, right? Is that
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
how PPSK works on the back end is that the AP knows the password, and when you have SAE, neither side really knows that unique password, and there's no chance for a retry. If the password's wrong, connection dropped.
Yeah.
So there's no dictionary attack. There's no
Right.
clever thing you can do there. But we have some ideas, and then I know other people in the industry are talking about sort of bringing this forward because PPSK has become so important for those multi-residential dwellings or for hospitality applications that like Wi-Fi Alliance needs to look at this again.
Yeah, it feels like we need a industry standard because
For sure.
one is having the same problems. And
Well, I mean, the point behind SAE was
Yeah, I
to
know.
prevent dictionary attacks, which is the exploit used for
Yes.
PSK. So,
Yeah.
like
But the use
we
case
asked
here-
them to fix it, and they fixed it, and now we're going to go back to them and ask them to break it again? Like, that doesn't make any
the
sense.
use case for PPSK is definitely out there, right?
Sure, but you're still essentially using a dictionary attack.
You don't have to.
It might be another solution. That's what maybe
The
we need to find.
endpoint could be passing something, but that's not worked into the spec right now, so endpoints don't.
Well, that's
we
it, yeah,
can't use it.
according to the spec, right. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see. Hopefully we have some solutions there in the future, but we're kind of in the same boat as everyone else. We're limited to what we can do with that, but it's still got plenty of uses for certain use cases. And
No doubt.
Thanks for not doing anything stupid to make it work, though.
Yes.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, the downgrade attack approach, maybe don't do that.
Yeah, but to be clear, it's not just the MLO features. It's WPA3, and as a result, not
And
working
as
in
a
6
result,
gigahertz
right.
either.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. So thanks for calling that out, because again, people need to know what the limitations are of this technology sometimes. If it worked with Wi-Fi 7.
Or if you did something
WPA.
shiny new, right? That'd be great too.
Right. So definitely we'll be at the drawing board trying to figure something out like everyone else is, but hopefully we'll have something better to tell you about next year maybe. So another feature, like I said, I go to all these shows, I get hounded by people who want the same issue. I can tell you, QoS feature set in our product's been weak in the past. I'm really happy we have a full QoS platform where we just released with enhanced QoS rules. Allow you to prioritize certain applications. So in real world use cases, a lot of times people want the best performance for their conferencing software, things like Zoom or Teams, FaceTime, WebEx. We allow you to prioritize this traffic. You can specify a schedule on it. This is a full QoS platform that does all the things that people wanted for a long time. So we allow you to prioritize the apps you want to prioritize, deprioritize the apps you don't want to prioritize, like social media or TikTok during work hours or whatever you want to do, not to kill anyone's fun, but you have all the options to do whatever you need to do there. So this is, again, just a mature QoS platform. We need it for a while for enterprise deployments. We've got it there. We've also got full granular QoS control on the devices as well, that you can actually manually define priorities and things like that. So
Is that just only at the gateway level, or is that also going to extend it down to like the switch level? Are you talking QoS or more like bandwidth control?
We do have the bandwidth control, but it is QoS. We will configure the DSCP tags and all of that down throughout the platform.
Okay.
We also try to streamline this in other ways. Like we also have put in, we're seeing our Pro AV market grow a little bit. People that are deploying UniFi for like high-end Pro AV deployments. And so we also have Pro AV profiles for major manufacturers in the Pro AV space, where if you're going to go install a Pro AV solution, you can actually designate which protocol you need to use, and we kind of have optimized the QoS based on the manufacturer's recommendations. So that's all just meant to streamline that process when you're deploying UniFi switches, especially, and improving that QoS experience. But yeah, we added a lot of functionality there. So definitely, I'm excited to see that for sure. Now, you mentioned before, like, what are the sorts of things that we have to help you identify potential issues or with your deployment. Now, these are features we take very seriously. We're trying to do to improve the whole experience of troubleshooting a network issue. So you all know what it's like to have a customer that I'm assuming here everyone knows what it's like to have a customer that calls you and says there's a Wi-Fi issue, and you deal with this nebulous concern. You have to drill down, find out what the problem is. Sometimes it's network wide. Usually it's not network wide. Usually it's more narrow, a client specific issue or an application specific issue. With this new AirView feature, we have this place where you can go to start troubleshooting any issue and try to identify problems proactively. So we've got basically you get a good idea of what's going on in your environment. So for the whole deployment, what's the airtime look like? What percentage of the airtime is being eaten up with multicast traffic? Which percentage is interference, TX retries, and so on. We also can look at things like roaming. So we can look at AP density, identify if there's an AP where we're seeing a lot of roaming happening and a lot of TX retries around this. Maybe it indicates that there's a lack of coverage in a certain location, that we need to add another access point to improve the density. We also look at all the different things with client, like you can aggregate all the client traffic and then identify association failures, authentication failures, DNS error issues, and things like this. And so you can basically use this to troubleshoot and identify the problem for the network as a whole. But you can also drill down individually into an access point device, or into the access point itself. So you can go in here to the to one of our E7s, for instance, and you can go look at how the airtime is specifically. So if you know that the problem's at a particular portion of a building, we can go look at those access points that are located there, identify potential issues, look at the nearest neighbors. We can look at all the different bands. We can even do a packet capture from here. So,
can you look at a group of APs? So like in the education, can I look at what my airtime is on all of the education
so like
or classroom
multi-selecting
APs?
multiple at once in a subset? I don't think we can do that just yet, but it would make sense where we could add that functionality.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll definitely suggest as a feature request.
Can you flip it and view it from a client perspective? Drill and look at it.
Yeah, let me show you that, because of course that's always a problem. You can get down all the way to the individual devices, and you can, let's say that it's someone's iPhone. These are sometimes the most frustrating issues to resolve, because, iOS might come out with an update that changes a certain behavior that we only see for a limited, in a limited use case. But we can go ahead and look all the way down to roaming history, look at different performance and, certain events in the device's history. And we can keep a long history of these devices for, up to a month or longer that allows you to be able to troubleshoot this. So really, we have all these features here to help you troubleshoot and resolve those issues proactively. And you know, that packet capture we talked about, like I used to work for UniFi support. That used to be my job. And I can tell you how many times I had to get on someone's machine and install Wireshark and do a packet capture. And you know, it was difficult. But now we have it just so easy now in the application. You can click up there at the top to initiate a packet capture. You can select if you want to do it wireless or on the LAN if it's a LAN issue. You can do it that way. And you can just designate which bands you want to look at, the duration, and then capture it. And just within, you'll see the progress it completes, and then you get an archive file you can download with all those files listed there. And again, I would have really loved to have this. It would have saved me so much time when I was supporting the product. So these types of features, I think, are really helpful for this crowd. I know you're all always looking ways to streamline your work and scale your work better. And that's one of the things I hear from customers a lot. That really one of the things of UniFi that's really improved and what really drives them to use more of our product is, above all, is the scale, like the way that they're able to scale efficiently, and as a lean company, be able to grow the number of deployments they have, and they find that the maintenance experience and what it's like to support all these deployments is actually less of a drain on their organization than it is with some other products. And so I see it from a lot of integrators and MSP. That's why they choose us, even above the licensing and that model. That for a lot of them, that's what drives them to use our products. So we're going to keep coming out with more features to help us better improve that efficiency of managing a large unified deployment.
For the packet capture, is it, do you run it from one AP standpoint, or do you run it and then it just capture on all of the APs and you're tracking like a client MAC address?
Right now we do it on one AP.
I don't think not a sum up
yeah,
video.
maybe we'll have some options for more customization
not.
of that in the future.
Yeah, the tracking MAC address is useful, especially.
Maybe we should have a client-specific packet capture or something that allows us to look at more.
Because if you do testing and you roam around, you don't have to worry about, okay, which AP do I need to capture from?
Yeah.
You can just let the system figure it out.
So I'll look at that. Maybe see if there's some way we
AP
can
's great.
implement a client device-specific packet capture that looks at client activity across devices.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Usually
thanks for that
the first thing we do when we troubleshoot is do like, the MAC address filter in Wireshark.
Sure. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, Keith, you had a question?
AirView was also a previous Ubiquiti product that did spectrum analysis, and you're reusing the name.
Yeah. Yep. I think that's the idea.
But it's not a SpecAn here.
No, it's not. Yeah.
No, but from the same menu, you can get access to the spec analyzer if it's an AP that has one.
And which APs have that?
That would be Pro XGS, that would be E7, any of those, and then Pro Max. All have the new tri-band
Oh yeah,
spec
like I'm
analyzer.
not going to be taking this live stream down,
And
so
then
you can
also,
watch
if
it
you're looking
whenever.
to track roams as clients roam around, AirView will show with clear demarcations when a client moved from AP to AP.
Right. Yeah, you'll see the roaming events and everything listed there.
And for the channel utilization, the first time you showed it, was it for all of the APs?
Yeah, it was for the whole. It was for the environment.
Average?
Yeah, that's my understanding. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's move on. Thanks for all the good questions. API is one of those things that I went to my first WLPC event, and I remember that was the most common feature request I got from all of you guys was, "Where's the API support? Why don't you have API support?" And I can tell you, we went and brought that feedback back for years. But I'm so happy to tell you nowadays, we actually have organizational support for this feature. We're all on board. We all want to do this. We understand the use cases for this. We know for large environments that are multi-vendor environments, where it's difficult to manage products across different applications, some large organizations are going to bring all those products together in one dashboard and want to monitor them and configure them from one place. You can now do that with UniFi. We have not only API support for network, we've also brought API support for all of our applications. So you can do it for door access control. If you want to generate, I spoke with a large apartment complex that wants to do 700 apartments with access, and they want to generate, they want to be able to streamline the whole process of getting a new tenant onboarded. And so they wanted to use our API to generate, give the person the access to the door that they need access to, and use the API to leverage and expedite that whole process. So what's cool about API support being a focus for us is we started with initially doing analytics, mainly statistics and monitoring features. We've now started to bring in more and more configuration. That's the next phase, is we're going to bring all the configuration steps, so you basically can do anything you can do through the application through the API, which is already possible right now. It's just we need to improve our documentation to make that clear, how to set up a script with this. So
talking about documentation, because when you start working with APIs, documentation is important.
Yeah.
Where do you have it today? And
yeah. So what's cool about this is on any UniFi instance, anytime you have UniFi installed, the software, you can just go to settings and go to control plane, and then there's integrations. You click that button, and then it brings you to this page right here. And then if you want to click on the documentation there, you just click the network API, and it takes you to this page. And then this is where you get through all the flow. Yeah.
Is this also publicly available, even if?
Yeah, anyone that installs the software.
Oh, we have to install software.
Developer.ui.com has our cloud API, so stuff tied to Site Manager. We also have a local API on each application, and it's going to give you a localized version control. That's also being migrated to developer.ui.com.
Okay.
And we're doing a lot of nice touches on it so that we're going to pre-make the code, depending what language you're going to have. We're going to have some nice integrations there, too.
Yeah, one thing you could do is the Postman collections. That's
Yes,
cool.
yes.
Yeah, thank you.
It's just for statistics at the moment.
No, we can also do some limited configuration. We just recently added, for instance, hotspot vouchers. So let's say you're a hotel that wants to be able to streamline the process of assigning vouchers to customers and generating a temporary Wi-Fi access for a customer. You can do that now with the API. We outline that whole process and integrate with your whole hospitality management workflow. And so, yeah, that's there. And we're just in the process. Like, this just started within the last year. So we had no progress before we came last time around. So this has all happened since, and we're committed to doing basically enumerating everything. And so you can do everything you can through the software, through the API. And we know that whenever you're the customer that needs this stuff, you really need it. And you need to be able to rely that we're going to have standard syntax so that you don't go ahead and build a script and then we go change it in the firmware update. What's cool about this is you get the idea, too, that we're standardizing our syntax so that you don't have to deal with changes in the code that's going to upset your process.
Also, when you start saying that you have an API, people would expect that everything you can do through the UI, you can do it via the API nowadays.
Yeah, and you can with UniFi, just we don't have the documentation yet. So there's still a way for you to, if you're on a local installed instance, you can just inspect a debug console and look at all the commands you're sending, and then copy those into a script and use those as well. So that's all available right now if you need an immediate stopgap solution. But once we have the documentation, I think that gives you the added the trust that we're not going to change it on you, right?
Yeah. We're also taking the time to clean up some of the API endpoints. Some of them have existed for years and years and years. And so as we build out this API, we're taking the opportunity just to make it a lot easier to use, remove some cruft. I mean, that's really what this is. And that's sort of why feature parity is taking some time for us to do, is we just want to make sure that when we deliver you guys a feature in the API, that it works and works consistently.
Yeah, every new release has new API endpoints that we do, and those literally just come from the most feedback. There's areas where you can give feedback, hey, this is what we want to see. Obviously, events like this, let us know, because we take it and we say, okay, cool, let's keep them going.
One thing I would say for the documentation is if you can provide examples of this is what we're expecting to get back, when we do a request, that's very useful. Especially,
you can see at the bottom, we do give you examples of responses down below this. I just doesn't show in the screenshot. So.
And then especially for if you start doing webhooks and stuff like this, like sometimes it takes.
Yeah, and this whole custom integration thing is something we're really taking seriously beyond just the API. So you mentioned webhooks, like we talked about SuperLink just a moment ago. But one of the shifts we have in our software is just like awareness about your deployment period. Like we want to create more and more insight into what's going on into your network, into your physical security deployment. That's where we add these things like sensors that allow you to identify potential, like there's a water leak. And then you can define your own custom response to that. And that's going across our different applications with door access and things where, we see that being an area that we grow as a software platform, is really improving intelligence about what's going on in your deployment, and then giving you the ability to set custom triggers, like generate a webhook. Anytime this much packet loss happens on any of the, you can be an MSP or an integrator, that a way of streamlining your management process for your customers, instead of having to get on and look at every site or wait for a call to come from your customer, you set up all these standard thresholds that we can identify when there's this much of an issue that happens. Then we can generate that webhook, create a ticket, through whatever our ticketing platform is, and then use that to be able to, proactively call the customer. And you can imagine how much happier customers would be if you get a call from the person you're paying to maintain your network and says, hey, I've noticed you got some packet loss in this segment of your network. We want to discuss potential, what might be going on in that case. So this is the stuff we're going to be improving in the near future. We've already got some of that for our other applications, but we can see more room for that, our network and other applications in the future. So thanks for bringing that up. And I think that's the big thing for SuperLink, is it gives you that physical site intelligence to be able to help you know what's going on and create your own custom responses to anything. Yeah. So big area of focus, and I want to give this the attention it deserves. But basically, UniFi, we start with this. We used to be all local site management. You couldn't do anything above that level. We added the site manager, which became this way that we can network all your local sites together, make management and accessing these sites more easy and scalable. And that's improved a lot. Like we added global accounts on the site manager. But really, we're at the point where we need to be able to support organizations and large organizations with their complexity and with the amount of integrations and things they rely on. So what's great is we now have UniFi organizations to introduce. This just came out in early access, and this gives us the ability to support organizations, integrate with identity providers to bring in, and you can sync all your users across your identity provider to UniFi software, so you can control access to the software from your SSO accounts. But you can also, beyond that, we have the ability. We have a UniFi endpoint app, which is kind of like the glue between all of our different solutions. We have all those different products we provide. This app is the way that you can basically access these different products through an end user. So an end user could open up this app. They can use it to connect to their Wi-Fi with one click without having to enter in a password. They could access their VPN without having to enter the shared secret and all that stuff. It streamlines all this with just one touch, even down to doors, being able to look at the soft phone with our talk phones and everything else. But what's great about this is now you can log in this with your SSO account when you sync it with your identity provider, and then basically get an email invitation, download the app. It's on Android or iOS, and they just and this is totally free too. So this is a crazy what this is capable of doing is it adds a lot of function to your deployments. And you can see here for a large-scale deployment, being able to offboard and onboard employees is such an important process to streamline. So now when you have an employee that leaves the company, if the SSO syncs and they're able to remove that account, they immediately can lose access to all those different features across every single physical site. So it used to be you had to go in and remove them from each individual site. And if anyone's managed an IT, deployment like this, you know how easily that stuff gets forgotten. You end up leaving door access on an employee that's been gone for 3 months.
Are you saying you can open a door with the
Yeah, it uses locationing to find the closest door.
Oh, location?
Yeah, as long as you have access to it, you can go ahead and one click.
Apple Wallet too on our latest generation of readers.
Okay.
What identity providers do you support? Both providers or standards?
So right now we have Entra, we have Active Directory, LDAP, Google Workspace, and then is there more that we're unlisted?
Yeah, it's going to be agnostic, whatever sorts of SAML-based platforms that you have, LDAP, AD.
Okay.
This just came out last week, so we don't have all the. We're going to provide full support for whatever you need, and we're going to build on this platform a lot. There's going to be a lot of new features coming to this organization management plane. We're going to be able to make it. We talked about the process of deploying. One of the pain points of the UniFi, if you're doing a large organization, sometimes parts of the process of deploying a new site can be tedious, like being able to designate who's going to be able to install that site. We're streamlining that whole process. We're going to provide ways for you to be able to sync out that configuration to that site proactively, then using ZTP to be able to get those devices pointed to the right site, and then make permissions and all that managed so where you have a designated installer and all that. So you don't have to worry about passing ownership of a site and all that. We're just streamlining all this process for large organizations, and we're going to keep adding features to this, including things like being able to sync your credentials for door access control across all your physical locations. So that's on a site-by-site basis now, except you use UniFi Identity Enterprise, which is kind of a niche product. But we're basically making that available for everyone through this platform, where you can basically use our door access control in a large organization without having to worry about. You can now share between sites.
So is this platform a separate thing you need to sign up for?
You can just right now you can just opt in through the site manager. You just go to the site manager. It gives you a chance to set up your organization. But yeah, totally free. You sign up, you get your own domain. You can have, your own actual domain, your company name.ui.com that you go to manage all your deployments. So it's kind of cool. It's a nice new experience, but again, it's brand new. Just came out last week, so we're going to build off of it.
Is it hosted in Site Manager?
So the whole idea here is, you have your site manager. You can group stuff logically as it is now, but now you can take these, you can actually dedicate it to an organization and associate it to what we call, our identity hub. So this is actually going to be an on-premise thing that you can install. If you have your Enterprise Fortress Gateway, you can say, this is my organization's identity hub. That's going to sync with your IDP, and that's going to orchestrate the permissions to everything else within that dedicated organization. We're going to give more flexibility options to where you can run it, but that's the whole idea, is it's there, and you can have, you can be a member of multiple organizations. So right now, it is designated primarily for end users, but a lot of what we're working on moving forward is, okay, I'm an MSP. How do I have this same concept of IDP integration for my employees who they themselves are managing?
That's what I was going to ask, if you can do it from an MSP type.
That is something that we're looking at. You know, there's obviously a lot of complexities there, and how do we keep this a clean experience but does everything that you need?
That's the plan, though, and ultimately I think we'll get there. And again, I didn't mention this, but really I just want to say the user permissions across your organization is really easy to manage right now. It's really seamless to be able to create user groups, define what they have access to. Like if they only need to have access to the doors between 8 and 5 p.m., you can have a group that gives them access to the physical location through those hours. But if you have a sysadmin or a facility manager that needs access 24 hours, you can have different groups that you add the users to. And then when they're removed from the company, they can be removed from that group and then they lose all that access. So yeah, it really just helps you as an MSP too to manage an organization for your customer as well. And we'll add to that experience as time goes on.
And this is all free.
This is all free. Yeah.
And we've been really accentuating the mobile endpoint here, but there's also desktop endpoint. So Windows, Mac, Linux, whatever you need to use, you can provision this out to people's machines. If they need, one-click VPN access, one-click Wi-Fi access, same deal.
Yeah, we use that internally. It's like saved me a lot of time from our previous setup.
Yeah, we dog food all of this. This is what we use internally.
Yeah. So let's another feature we just want to mention. I think it came up last meeting too. Is PassPoint. So we've added PassPoint support. So PassPoint helps for those at home. Helps to facilitate roaming from mobile networks to your actual guest Wi-Fi. So it makes it very seamless for you to be able to transition users onto your network and off to your network. It's used in lots of cases like places that are very high-density public deployments like an airport or a stadium, and it offers a lot of benefits. Well, we've now added that to UniFi. That's now available, again, free feature added on, but we heard feedback about this, that it was needed for certain customers, and those users that needed this, obviously it's very important, so we've rolled this out as well. And then, like Craig mentioned, our SD-WAN platforms evolved. We used to be limited to only being able to, I would argue, some of the easiest setup of any SD-WAN solution out there. It's really seamless. Takes 3 clicks. You got a whole multiple site-to-site mesh VPN set up in just 3 minutes. But you can now do a hub and spoke up to 1,000 sites. So really helps us scale much more to the size of organizations that we're working with now. And really, I'm working with these organizations all the time. They're coming now to UniFi, and really, that license fee. The idea here is if we can help have a better experience. We still offer that premium, that non-license fee, but you save money as an organization. Sometimes they're getting a better experience than their previous vendor. In many cases, it's a slam dunk. And so that's really, we're going to keep trying to sweeten the deal for large organizations to come over, save a lot of money, get a better experience. And that's kind of the utopian task that we have before us. We have to try to make a software that works better. We want to make it the best software in the industry. We want to make it work better than anyone else. And so it means we have to invest a lot of resources despite not charging anything for this. But this says something about what our focus is. All this stuff we've released in the last year, and this is only scratching the surface. If I actually listed out all the features we have, it's a ton. And it just tells you how rapid our development process is. So you'd think, it's kind of the standard, belief that if something's free, then it's inherently worse. We're trying to convince you otherwise. We want to convince you that by going with UniFi, not only do you get access to all these features we have now, but next year we'll have a whole bunch of new features to talk to you about. And that's what's such a cool idea from my standpoint, is of being a user that buys a product. You have an affordable and competitive price with no licensing fee, just for the hardware. And then not only that, you get access to the future trajectory of our development as we keep adding more and more features. And I think that that captures why the experience for some of our customers is so positive, is that they love looking back and realizing that I have a solution that better served my needs in the last year. And that was just UniFi investing in me because they value my business. And we're going to keep doing that. That's going to keep being our focus, and we're not deviating from that plan. So I think that's a good place to in my presentation. But I still want to open up any questions that everyone has. I'm sure there's some other questions.
So one question I've got on any of the features that we've seen or that today or on the board, are there any restrictions to the country that they're deployed in? So if you're an enterprise that have nationwide worldwide offices, are there any of the features that can't be used or are blocked?
Virtually no. There's no limitations on that. We have a worldwide customer base. We work with customers in basically every country. Especially being such a price-accessible product, it means that we've really got a lot of support from an international market. So we are always coming out with products that sometimes it confuses the market here in the U.S. because we come out with a product. We came out with the UK Ultra, a $99 AP that was Wi-Fi, that was AC. But you think about for a U.S. market, it doesn't make a lot of sense because we already have, it's not on the forefront of people's minds here, but if you go to a different country where having 5 gigahertz is still not a assumption, we have to always serve a larger customer base. And so that's part of our business approach, allows us to reach kind of different places that we wouldn't be able to otherwise. So that's to your point, we're always trying to work on expanding. So we've got support available internationally. We've rolled that out. We're also, rolling out the UI care plan globally as well. And all these features we want to bring in anyone where we can. So yeah, that's always going to be approached with us because we have such a large global customer base.
So on Tom's slide, even with those E7 access points, we have AFC on obviously the US, Canada, but there were actually worldwide models of that as well where we can't have it, just ultimately showing that we're being thoughtful and really trying to make sure it's accessible.
Yeah, so a quick summary, like U7 Pro Outdoor for the worldwide market, that's now 4x4 on 5 gigahertz because we had to get rid of the 6 gig radio. E7 Campus worldwide, again, same deal. It has dual 5 gigahertz radios because it's a weatherized AP meant for outdoor use, and a lot of countries have restrictions on even selling a weatherized AP with a 6 gigahertz radio. And finally, for E7 Audience, we've kept the radio configuration the same, so 5 dual 6, but we've removed all weatherization from it, so it can only be used indoors.
Just drilled a hole.
If only it were that easy.
Yeah.
There were a couple questions that came through on the Wi-Fi 7 stuff after you finished, Tom.
Sure.
One of them was, are there any of the Wi-Fi 7 APs that do not support MLO, or do they all support it?
They all support MLO. Even U7 Lite, just our dual band 2.45, it will support dual band MLO. No problem.
And then there was another question about the thermals and how that's handled and addressed for the high temperatures that come with the chips on Wi-Fi 7.
Well, that's a great question. I mean, that's really what's led to our redoing of our industrial design. So we started out with U7 Pro. We really stretched the limits of what we could do with our traditional design. We made successive improvements just over time with U7 Pro as we got more mature with the hardware, and then Pro Max was probably our final iteration on what we could do with our original design. But then as Pro XG came out, we wanted to move to 10 gig. That necessitated changing up the whole ID. And then E7 was also a big learning for us because that AP has higher end radios that run even hotter, even more power demand. And so that's why if you look at an E7 AP, not only does it have the big heat sink design on the back, it's got the actual ridges cut into the metal backing for additional heat dissipation. We did a lot of thermal management with that design. And so it's really been a learning for us, but it's also been an opportunity for us because now for the first time in 14 years, 15 years, we finally have a new design for ceiling mount APs. So when people look up, they get to see a whole new modern design.
I wish we had some to show you, but the feedback I get from customers is extremely positive. You come see us at a trade show or come check out the new AP design because it definitely seems matured and especially with that enterprise access point, like it's a beast, but it's able to really handle the thermals and everything well. So we're excited about that, and my wife even commented on when I unboxed it. She's like, "Wow, that doesn't look like the other APs. That's really nice." And yeah, it's cool. We're doing something else. Yeah, Keith.
I'm not seeing RRM up there.
Yeah, I thought you might ask about that this year. We're ready for that. Tom, you want to explain a little bit of that?
Yeah, RRM is challenging. We have an algorithm that runs at boot. If you set your AP to use an automatic channel, it'll scan at boot, and we have an existing RRM that you can schedule. But to be honest, it's not as good as we'd like it. It still doesn't match where we want our RRM to be, especially with 6 gigahertz now being at the forefront and people wanting to do big scale 6 gigahertz deployments. So it's still under active development, but it's a priority for us in the coming year.
Thanks.
And then I've got one more that came in from LinkedIn.
Sure.
I know there are skins for some of the APs. Are those available yet for the Wi-Fi 7? Are they coming?
So
specifically black skins?
Yeah, we'll have our first black AP, so that's coming soon.
We'll actually have black AP hard.
Yeah, the Pro XG, XGS will be available in black, and then the Pro and Pro Max are available with a paintable cover.
Yeah, the wall already has a paintable cover. We can sell you with the the U7 Pro wall. You can actually paint over the cover there with whatever you need for interior. So it's more. unintrusive. And
Just don't use metallic paint, please.
thanks for calling that out. Yeah, so.
Earlier on, when you were sort of doing the organization flyby, you mentioned Pro AV equipment. And while I certainly don't want to deep dive on your Pro AV equipment because I don't do any of it, when I do AV equipment, what I struggle with finding is a switch that supports precision time protocol.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Do you have PTP support in your switches for your AV business?
We support a subset of PTP. The exact one I don't have offhand, but
We don't have the V2. But
The one that's hard to find?
let's
Yeah,
just
okay.
say we hear you.
Okay, fair enough.
Or
Thank
hope
you.
to have something. Yeah.
Perfect.
we've heard plenty of it. Yep.
It's an important market for us, and it's one that we're seeing a lot of traction on with UniFi.
And you can only get that on the really big switches.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's
One more.
Oh, go ahead.
One more question from LinkedIn. How many users does the free version of Identity Endpoint allow?
It's limited. We don't have
So,
a limit on it.
so we used to have this concept of identity, just a single site identity. With this organization, there is no limit. You literally install this, there is no cap on it.
So what's the difference between identity free and identity enterprise?
That was our legacy solution kind of for organizations. It was where we kind of sandboxed and tested out some of these new enterprise-facing features, especially for organizations. But now we're taking those features that are most demanded. We've already rolled those out to free, and we're basically taking all those and moving it all free on organizations. So, yeah, that's kind of the idea now. We see is that the organization being that main platform people are using for this moving forward.
Yeah,
Okay, so
moving
this is
forward,
not gonna be-
organizations, Identity Enterprise, that was only available in the US. It was a cloud-based system. In addition to all of this stuff, there was lots of other features. We said, hey, this is what customers really want. Let's make it free. Here's this concept of organizations, identity hub. We've got a plan going forward, and I think that this is going to be really central to it.
Yeah, we see it evolving. Someone asked a question about SASE. We see an evolving SASE platform here to build off of in the future, and so there's lots more room for us to grow, and we're excited to see what comes next. Yeah.
I don't know if it's on this. You can reverse the slide, but Tom, you'd mentioned some APs had AFC. Which of the Wi-Fi 7 APs?
So it's all of the E7 models. So whether it's E7 Campus or Audience, as well as U7 Pro Outdoor.
Just the outdoor.
Yeah, just the outdoor. That's correct. The regular U7 Outdoor doesn't have a 6 gigahertz radio, so no need, but Pro Outdoor does.
So the Pro Outdoor does, and then if you see on this one, the E7 Campus, the E7, and in the E7 Audience.
Yeah. I should add that AFC also works in Canada as well. Same system basically that the US is using. But again, we're still waiting to hear from compliance on other countries and see what they're doing.
Just a quick question on the IW.
Oh, the in-wall.
U7
Yeah.
IW?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the first time I saw this, I was like, oh, we have Wi-Fi 7 with no 6 gigahertz.
Yeah.
So is this because you were selling this to like markets where
Worldwide.
6 gigahertz is not available, or
It's a combination of both
or the
factors.
price maybe?
It's a combination of both factors. So there is a strong international demand for APs for low-cost APs that add the Wi-Fi 7 features, but may not have 6 gigahertz. Maybe their market doesn't yet support it.
Okay.
But there's also, we ran into essentially thermal challenges, basically. So U7 Pro Wall has the 6 gigahertz radio, but it does not have a switch. And so we have customers that want both. And we tried to do it without increasing the footprint. We had a 6 gigahertz AP with a switch, like the enterprise in-wall we called it for Wi-Fi 6E, but it was physically massive. I mean, it's the size of my hand.
Well, we've seen it with other vendors. Their wall APs are bigger nowadays.
We have one, the U6 in-wall enterprise is available that has 6 gigahertz on it, and
But
has the in-wall.
if it's a request, we can certainly look into it. We always want to expand our portfolio.
Thank you for
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
I have to ask, WAN Magic, what is that?
Did we release that yet?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Let's sum up on the slide.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Andrew and Tom and Craig, for that. And thank you for everyone that was tuning in, especially Cody at Mac Telecom. You had, almost 300 people watching your stream. There's some good questions coming in, and it's always interesting to see the perspective of people, that have primarily worked in the enterprise market versus people who are coming up a different way and looking at things like, enterprise people are like, why do you have a door puller on your web store? And people who buy everything from one place went, cool, I don't have to go to Home Depot. So we really appreciate that. And we really appreciate the look of at everything that you're doing. One of the comments that I caught right before I got up was, I love that these guys are presenting. You can tell they really know what they're talking about. So take that as high praise. Obviously, there are some questions that we can't answer publicly, but we're going to go into our little breakout session. But that means that that's it for us today. We have 2 more presentations coming your way tomorrow. Make sure you tune in. We're actually starting a little bit later on Friday because, it's Friday. We sleep in a little bit, a whole hour. We're starting at 9 a.m. Pacific tomorrow. Check the website, techfieldday.com, for more details. And we will look forward to seeing you on Friday for the final day of Mobility Field Day 13. Until then, get some rest. You need it.
All right, so that was good. Give me a sec here. So I'm going to post the description, or sorry, their website will be posted down below too, because they don't just do Ubiquiti stuff. They do like everything. I think they had 48 before this today, and I'm not too sure who's going tomorrow, or I didn't actually look at the schedule. But let me post their website down below and thank them, or TechField, or Tom from TechField, for letting me actually co-stream that with them. I am going to have this. I'm pretty sure I could just leave it on my channel. I did last year, left it on my channel. It's not going to be monetized. Well, should be ad free, I'm pretty sure. So if you guys want to watch it on my channel, but if not, Tech Field Day does have a YouTube channel, and I'll also put them in the description below, where, so let me turn my mic up a bit, where they're going to be posting this conference, or this whatever you call it, Tech Field Day, I guess, with Ubiquiti on their channel, and you won't have, my little camera right in the top if you want to rewatch it. Let me bring up the chat window here. I can't be on too late. Chantel's got school and she's got to use my computer, but I can stay on for a little bit. So yeah, I mean, Tom, Craig, and Andrew, all 3 of them were on there last year. And they go to the Ubiquiti World conferences and stuff like that. So yeah, pretty cool. Let me just see. There was a lot of questions. I know. Sorry if I mispronounced your name, Jazzjit. I don't know if that's proper, but the UniFi identity, I think it is still in early access, so I can't do a video on it. I need to set up a separate site with a different email, and I am going to be doing a video on it, and we'll kind of go all through it. But they're going to keep adding and adding to that. And then SuperLink stuff. I'm glad they mentioned it. I hope they start doing a little bit more of the SuperLink stuff. But it was a great presentation. I was hoping that they were going to show some new stuff. So last year they showed new stuff. I think it was last year they introduced the EFG. So that was kind of huge. Close enough. Call me. Okay. What am I looking forward to? I'm looking forward, honestly, to SuperLink. I think that's the biggest thing that I'm looking forward to right now, is like a alarm system for homes and businesses and stuff like that. I think that's what I'm looking forward to the most right now. And obviously the identity, because we push out a lot of UniFi access. I just actually got someone email me during this live stream saying, oh, we have 3 buildings we want to do full UniFi, protect, access, and talk. So that's going to be kind of cool. And I was late, so I didn't know if I'd make it back in time. I asked Tom from Tech Field Day if I could co-stream this again, and he said, yeah, sure, awesome. And then I didn't know if I was going to make it, so I was like 10 minutes late, so you may have missed a couple things at the very beginning. Enterprise in-wall confirmed. Was it confirmed? I didn't hear about that. I don't know if they will. Yeah, stuff I'm looking forward to is all the... I don't even know. Like, they released so many cameras already. I think like a new product line like SuperLink. Are they going to be doing a SuperLink wireless door access? That would be kind of cool. So if you, I mean, what the heck would they do it? I'm going to just try to find this. They kind of touched on the, oops, that's not where I wanted to go. Support, where the heck is it? Where the heck do you find? Oh, it's right here. You probably saw that they do case studies, or they showed off case studies. They just showed this off very quickly. Of course, mine's at the bottom. That's so sad. I think it's probably... Anyway, so we did this place, but they had all door access. I think they had like 40 rooms or 50 rooms, but they weren't any wireless door locks, so they had to go with Salto. If Ubiquiti had something like that, we could have done all these door latches. It would have been amazing to do that. We do have one Ubiquiti door access on the IT room. I'm still waiting and hope that UniFi will be able to set up routed Wi-Fi so you can set up guest networks where the AP handles all the IP. Interesting. Ubiquiti doesn't really publish roadmaps. I'm just trying to think, do they? Not really. Not really. Next week, you're going to end up seeing stuff. Oh, he basically said to his colleague, shut up. Okay. Well, I'll find... I don't know anything about it, and that... There's a running joke in my Discord that I swear on my cat's life, swear on Mocha. I swear on Mocha for this, for sure. But next week, they did bring this up, that they are doing Ubiquiti World Conference. I would assume this isn't allowed to be filmed or anything like that, but there's people there who don't listen to the rules, so I would assume that you may see some new things. I was hoping that they were going to show something new today, but it was great to hear them talk about the different, all the updates to Site Magic, SD-WAN, Wi-Fi, and all that type stuff. Also, I would assume that there's going to be some more coming into the US. Maybe Canada? It would be really nice if it came to Canada. So we'll see. He did say smoke alarm. I think they showed smoke alarm before in their... let me just look up UniFi SuperLink. I'm pretty sure they did. Images. They showed it in their video, I think. Oh, it's kind of hard to see. Oh, here we go. Okay. Like over here, you could see that they have a smoke right there. They have an environment, so that's going to be for humidity, leak, whatever, glass break. They have a siren. They have a couple different relays, air quality, motion, and a alarm control. The alarm control I'm kind of interested in. I think that's going to be cool, especially if it could tie into UniFi Access as well. Oh, you're going to the London one. Night. I wish I was... I want to go to one. Those are just a little bit too far away from me. I guess probably the shortest flight would have been to Mexico, and I'm not sure if they're doing it in Spanish, and I don't know Spanish at all. Besides SuperLink still coming soon, do you think there's is something that UniFi could add? They always they have access cameras, networking. I'm not sure. Maybe some lighting. Like they did show the pot lights. This was going back and and add to the connect line because they need more screens that are smaller. The pot lights, and then they have these like panels, these LED panels. I think that would be nice. They used to have LED panels years ago. I'm trying to think what else. Always new cameras, I guess. A dual lens camera would be cool. A solar camera would be even cooler. Tie the alarm to that speaker they just announced. Okay, cool. Oh yeah, I have the, where is it? Oh, where's my Instagram? Did I post it on Instagram? It's pretty big. I mean, it's a normal horn. It's not really much bigger than that. Let me go to my profile. There you go. There we go. I haven't set this up yet, and I'm not actually going to be keeping it on my house. I'm going to put it, I have this big camera mounting arm, and we'll put it on there just so I could, I mean, my neighbors are going to kill me, right? So, and this is the camera. I don't have the camera working. No, it's not the camera. It's the cabling. So my brother and I are going to run a new cable out here. And then we'll have a video on this sometime next week. Not sure if Clay's still in the chat, but DPC Technology, they'll also have a video on this as well, I would assume. I don't think Robert Perra will speak I don't think he will. Oh, Spanish. I don't think he'll speak Spanish either. I'm not sure if he does or not. Someone from Hostify. Yes, Alex will be on, most likely. Alex Lowe. Alex Lowe does the interface as well, and he works for Hostify. You're going to Berlin. Nice. Some speakers. I'd like a PA system. PTC joystick would be nice. Yes, and PA system. I guess like I mentioned this to them. I'm like, you should have that horn tied in, or have the ability to tie it in to UniFi Talk to use it as a talk speaker. Oh, you're editing it now. Nice. So yours will be out before mine because I still don't have any footage of actual camera. I brought it downstairs. I'm like, I hope it's the cabling in my wall and not the camera. I brought it downstairs, plugged in the switch, and booted right away. The commentary on heat signature regarding the in-wall was telling. I wonder if they regret not including additional ports on the U7 Pro. Yeah, it would have been nice because that has that extra 6 gigahertz radio as well. And they still have the possibility of a UPS. Well, maybe. The 5 gigahertz stuff would be cool too, because we're working at a house and I don't have access to the Wi-Fi and their cell signal sucks. So I'd love to get something like that. I guess if their tower, I don't know. Maybe I should get like a Starlink Mini or something. I don't even know. Alex was met him with Jim, the IT guy. Yeah, I would assume Alex would go. I don't know why he wouldn't. I'll be going to whatever ones in the United States and or Canada. If they do one in the United States and Canada, I'll go to both. Maybe one year I'll go somewhere further where I haven't been. Like I've never been to London before. That would be kind of cool for an actual trip. I think the flight's about 9 hours, so it's not crazy. I'd like to see a small form factor, high capacity MVR. Do you see a demand for this? Small form factor, high capacity. Probably not. Probably not. Well, the AI horn is because it could do... I don't actually know yet because I haven't plugged it in, but just going based off of their video, it looks like it could do some... I guess we could... Wait, what time is it? I gotta go in like 5-ish minutes. We could bring up... here, I'm just gonna plug Tech Field Days YouTube again. If you guys want to go... They do a lot of tech stuff, so go subscribe to them. What was I gonna look at? Ubiquiti. Where the heck is... Oh, here we go. I thought they had some AI features in this. Yeah, I hope it's not loud. Oh, there we go. Ah, sorry, that's probably killing your ears. I just want to see what the actual horn does. Because I haven't hooked it up yet. And I do like that they came with the table stand for this camera as well. It's interesting. Here we go, here we go. I'm going to turn the audio down just a little. Oh, no, I'll just leave it up. I'll turn my speakers down.
Even further, check out the all-new AI horn speaker. Supporting text-to-speech deterrence.
Please step away from the vehicle.
Yeah, I don't know if it's really AI.
Voice messages.
The north parking lot is for employees only.
Or even edge AI-powered commentary.
You are entering a construction zone. Hard hats required.
That's kind of interesting.
Rounding out.
Oh, what are they doing though? Look at this. They're using indoor cable outdoor. And it looks like it's monoprice. What the heck? Where's the Ubiquiti cable? I should be posting that on Twitter. Anyway, it's gonna be kind of cool. I'm gonna use it on my driveway just for the testing, and then I'll probably take it out there and maybe give it to a customer or something like that. I mean, the small form factor MVR would be nice, but yeah, it might be difficult to do. 1 or 2 hard drives space maybe ish. Yeah, I guess that would be okay if you're doing like a smallish deployment. Yeah, we have a bunch of camera jobs coming up here shortly. I don't know if I'm able to film the one we're going to. I don't know. I can't really. I don't think I could talk. I'm not sure if I could talk about it. Anyway, they have a ton of cameras. They just messaged me. They said we want all the new PTZ cameras around the house. So. Whatever. And I'm not talking about the little G6 ones. They want the, I think they want the Precision, but they're not out yet. The G6 PTZ does look tempting. I actually really want one. The G5 was my favorite camera. For residential anyway. It was my favorite camera. And now with the G6, where's the G6? It's not sold yet, is it? Oh, here it is right here. It looks like the bracket's a little bit different, isn't it? Like the bracket sticks out a little bit more. Q3. Oh, coming Q3. I didn't know that. I thought it was coming sooner than that. It's a nice looking camera. What can it do here though? All-weather 4K dual lens camera with 10. Oh, it's a dual lens camera. I didn't know that. Dual lens camera. Interesting. 8 megapixel multi-tops AI engine and ultra low latency pan tilt zoom control. That's cool. AI MVR would be great. Well, they already have that. Yeah, I guess. I guess they could just build in an AI key to it. That would be interesting, actually. They could build an AI key into it. Oh God, I got a couple minutes here. With wireless cameras, I have the G6. I have the G6 Instant right at the front of my door. Cannot find where I can download logs about WAN 1 disconnects and connects. You could look in your. You might have to push that off to a syslog. I don't know if you can download their system messages. Like a G6, that's right, like a G6. I'm gonna buy a G6 PTAC. It seems to use the same mount. It's a little different, isn't it? Oh, maybe it is the same mount. Let's see. Yeah, it just sticks out a little bit differently. Like I took my G5 down to put the new AI PTZ on. See you in London end of the month, guys. I won't be going. I wish I was, but whoever is going, have a good time. If you're not in the Ubiquiti Discord, they actually have like a UWC meetup channel in there, where you guys could, talk to people and see. Yes, everybody liked the stream. I didn't even say that because, well, I was late. So I was pretty late. The dual lens make it especially interesting in my opinion. Yeah, I'm excited to try it out. But I do need to get out of here because Chantal needs to use my computer. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you, Tom from Tech Field Day, for allowing me to co-stream this. I will have all their links down in the description below. This will be staying up, so if you want to revisit it or watch anything else, we will be alive again this weekend, and we'll be talking about some other things. Everybody have